Okay. I'm a little laggy, I can already tell, but I'm hoping that my internet connection works long enough for me to say what I want to say, talk about what I want to talk about, and share what I have to share with you guys. If for some reason it doesn't, if it cuts out like the last few times it's been doing, I will just go live from my phone and we'll just leave it at that. Lots to talk about. So this is definitely a good show to let me know how we're looking and sounding because I have a screen right here and I can already tell that I'm lagging just a little bit. Jordan, appreciate you being here. He says your audio sounds good. So I'm assuming that the video doesn't sound good or look good because for some reason my internet just doesn't want to work. Anyways, whatever. We're going to keep going live, y'all. So much to talk about, you guys. And we're not really going to be talking about the game because one, the Brooklyn Nets were missing. I believe it was 9 players. I don't even know how they had enough players to play the game. They must have brought some players up from the G League and all that, and just played their C squad, if you will. Yeah, James says video pixelated somewhat. Yeah, that's what I figured. It's probably going to be laggy. It's weird. Again, and for some reason my internet just doesn't work, I'll just shut the camera off and we'll just do an audio show for today. But anyways, yeah, so good game though. I will just give my quick kind of thoughts on the game. Good game. I'm glad that Kevin Durant was finally able to rest in the fourth quarter. It's too bad that we haven't been able to do that with KD and Book and all of them much this year. Hopefully, this is a sign of things to come to where we can take care of business and beat these teams, beat these lottery teams, if you will, and give Kevin Durant the break. Booker and KD went absolutely lights out. By the way, Devin Booker has been playing really, really well lately and is starting to look like the Book that we all know him to be. So shout out to Devin Booker, especially if that raises his all-star stock. You know what I mean? Devin Booker's been playing very, very well. Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. He played great. And the newest comer, Nick Richards, 15 rebounds, 8 points. Got into a little bit of foul trouble, and he did get kind of banged up in this game. But the dude is tough as nails, played great. We actually got to play some of our G League guys and our bench in like bowl. So I'm glad the Phoenix Suns finally took care of business and got the win. Okay, guys. So let me know what you're drinking or eating in the chat. I'm drinking a little Coca-Cola so I can have some caffeine to get us through the show. And we have so much to talk about, you guys. It's not even funny. So cheers. So I guess I want to start off this show by talking about something that was reported, and I'm not even joking, at halftime of today's game. And I know a lot of people don't really like this reporter, at least some of social media, some people that I follow aren't a big fan of this specific reporter. But I believe he put this out for a reason. Now, again, this literally just dropped at halftime of the game, and we're going to react to it if my computer and my internet lets me, of course, that is. We're going to react to it because this is worth talking about. And as I responded, the moment he posted this video, the plot thickens. Now, again, if for some reason this doesn't work, you guys, I will just pretty much tell you what he said. Let me just pause the video real quick. So I like to give credit where credit is due, and I'm going to try my best to react to this, but I want to give a big shout out to Chris Haynes. This is what he is calling his Haynes briefs, which it's kind of a funny name, but Chris Haynes is a longtime NBA inside reporter. Hopefully you guys can still hear me while I put my microphone down. You already know the drill here, one-man show. But yeah, as you can see, my little response down there, the plot thickens. So let's listen to Chris Haynes as he is saying sources, a Milwaukee Bucks Bradley Beal connection is non-existent. Let's listen to what Chris Haynes said. Here we go.
Chris Haynes with another Haynes brief for you today. Contrary to popular belief, I was just informed that the Milwaukee Bucks have not inquired about Phoenix Suns star Bradley Beal. In fact, it was explained to me that a connection between the two is non-existent. So if Phoenix is able to acquire Jimmy Butler, it would not come via the Milwaukee Bucks taking on the star guard. This is Chris Haynes, and you've been briefed.
So the plot thickens. And you guys, I specifically wore this Riddler hat for two reasons. One, because the Riddler is probably my second favorite DC Batman villain, like right next to the Joker. I love the Riddler. And two, I wore this Riddler hat because I just have no clue what is going on with all this Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal, Phoenix Suns trade rumors. I'm not going to sit here and BS you guys. Yes, I am Suns geek. I try to follow all the Suns news and all the rumors and all the reports, and I try to give you guys my absolute best analysis, insight, and opinion. But I honestly and genuinely can tell you guys, I have no clue what's going on. There have been so many reports, so many tweets and information and stuff that has been put out the last week, the last 48 hours, the last 24 hours. And again, even before I went live at halftime, this now comes out, the Haynes brief, that the Phoenix Suns, Milwaukee Bucks, Bradley Beal thing is non-existent. It seems like every single day, every few hours, we just get report after report, rumor after rumor. It is just so hard to follow. Now, look, I'm not saying that Chris Haynes is wrong. I'm not saying that Chris Haynes' sources are wrong. And I'm not saying any of these big time reporters like Shams and whoever else you want to follow, insert name in the chat or insert name in the comments. Because trust me, there's a lot of people that I follow and respect and I love and I trust. I'm not saying their sources are wrong, but it is extremely difficult to just follow all these different people who are saying all these different things. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't want to come off as a hypocrite because that is going to be a big part of this show. We're going to kind of read some stuff that is being reported or stuff that is being talked about. But because so many people nowadays have so many sources, it is just so difficult to follow. And clearly, we are in trade season and trade rumors, not just with the Suns, are flying like crazy. It is just so difficult to follow. And I've changed my tune a lot on the Jimmy Butler stuff. I talked about it, I believe, with John Voida and Boyd from the Aussie Suns Fans podcast when we traded for Nick Richards. I've soured on the Jimmy Butler stuff. Now, I'm not saying that he wouldn't be a great fit here. I guess I would be pretty excited when we do trade for him, but I think I'm just more over the rumors and the reports. You know what I mean? So I think it's just that. I think I'm just burnt out and tired of all of the Jimmy Butler wants to be Jimmy Butler wants to be in Phoenix and Jimmy Butler and Phoenix wants Jimmy and blah, blah, blah. And this trade and that trade and this. I think I'm just tired of that. I think that's really what I've soured on. Now I've been talking to a lot of people, like my friends and just people that have DM'd me. So I appreciate you if you're one of those people. Like, people are genuinely curious about my opinion and I appreciate it. And I pretty much have told them what I pretty much just told you guys. I honestly don't know what's going to happen. Your guess is as good as mine, but I will say this. It is clearly going to be a multi-team trade with multiple different players. Shams Charania of ESPN has talked about that, and many others have talked about that. A big part of this show is John Gamadoro from Arizona Sports, who I want to give a big shout out to. And real quick, I wanted to thank John Gambo because he actually retweeted our podcast when Nick Richards was traded. So that was pretty cool. He retweeted that. And really just thank John Gambo for all the hard work and reporting and stuff that he does. and the fact that he responds to tweets and gives us information. So I want to give a big shout out and a thank you to him. But it's been nuts, you guys. I have soured on the Jimmy Butler stuff. I will believe it when I see it. When the Jimmy Butler Phoenix Suns trade is 110% official and the papers are signed and the team reports it and all of that, I will believe it. But until then, it's just we have to react to what we know. And I had a conversation with another friend. I said, we are reacting to what we know, and we are reacting in the moment. And the latest quote report is that Bradley Beal and the Milwaukee Bucks, those trade talks are non-existent. And I was going to talk about this a little bit later. I do just want to remind you guys, I'm not trying to preach to you guys, but this is a real thing in the NBA. Now, I don't really follow sport like other sports like football and hockey and all that and baseball. So I don't know if it's true in football and baseball and all that, but I know for a fact in the NBA, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes trade rumors, trade reports, and teams talking to each other over the phone, sometimes those reports stop and pretty much die as quickly as they start. Like, you guys remember during the off season when Darius Garland was in trade rumors and there was a report he wanted out, and then all of a sudden those reports got super quiet, and now the Cavs are like the best team in the NBA, at least one of them, besides the Thunder. So again, I'm wearing this Riddler hat with a whole bunch of question marks on it because I just have no clue. But there is more I want to talk about. And I do want to react to some stuff. So since we are sort of in the heat of the moment with all this Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal stuff, John Gambadoro from Arizona Sports fired off the tweets. And I love it. Again, thank you, John Gambadoro, who clearly is connected, who has been covering Valley sports for many, many years, and is nice enough to, share that information with us. So, I might as well just share the screen because he was tweeting like a madman. And I guess I'll just start with dude, I don't even know where to start with all this. Like, that's how many tweets he has fired off in the last hour, but we got to react to it. We have to. So I guess let's just start here. This is probably one of the newer ones. So Sketchy72 tweets out, any truth to the Haynes brief about Bucks not wanting Beal? John Gambadoro says, and I quote, very well could be. Beal may be open to going to a few teams that aren't open to him. Okay, let me repeat that. Beal may be open to going to a few teams that aren't open to him. Have never known if Milwaukee was interested or not. So John Gambadoro is saying he has never known if Milwaukee was interested or not. Just know that Miami has not been interested in having him. Again, you guys, the plot thickens. That's what this little podcast or live show should be called right here. The plot thickens. So he responds to some more people, and he says, nobody that I know wants Beal in that contract. That's not a good sign. It has always been a matter of having to incentive. I can't read some team to take him with assets. And even then, Beal has to want to go to such team, and no trade clause looms large because he can control where he wants to go. Now, I didn't read the report. I didn't read where it all came from, but apparently Bradley Beal's agent fired back on all this stuff today. And in all fairness to Bradley Beal and his agent, that makes sense. I mean, if that were my client, I would probably do the same thing too. And that's sort of a big part of this show. I know the show's jumping all over the place, but I actually had that in my notes. Let me just repeat the last part of this tweet right here before we move on. Beal, I'm losing my track here. Beal has to want to go to such team, and no trade clause looms large because he can control where he wants to go. That's sort of a big part of the show, you guys. Jimmy Butler is still under contract with the Miami Heat. Bradley Beal is still under contract with the Miami Heat. Technically, these two teams do not have to trade these two players. They don't have to. Now, Shams Charania, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said that he has heard that players and coaches are, because of how bad the Miami Heat situation is, it is becoming a distraction and, quote, chaos from Shams Charania, which makes a lot of sense. That locker room must be very toxic. Players must be hearing all about it, and they're probably sick of it, just like we are. So again, they do not technically have to trade Jimmy Butler. Technically, the Phoenix Suns do not have to trade Bradley Beal. And Bradley Beal has talked about this, and I think it was re-reported recently by like The Athletic and others, where I guess at the time of this recording, nobody has gone to Bradley Beal like Matt Ishbia, James Jones, Josh Bartlestein, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody has gone to Bradley Beal and said, hey, can you waive your no trade clause? To my knowledge, unless there was some report or rumor that I missed. Now, I think John Gambadoro did report that Bradley Beal's is open to waiving his no trade clause. But again, I don't know if at the time of this recording, a member of management or ownership or the front office has gone to Bradley Beal and said, can you please waive your no trade clause? And Dwayne Rankin even tweeted this tonight, that Bradley Beal was at that game and was just, behind the bench or on the bench. I don't know, but he was there. So I don't know, you guys. It's just becoming a lot. Now, I want to keep reading some tweets here. I don't want to bore you guys by just reading all of Gambo's tweets. But again, big shout out to Gambo. Thank you for sharing that information. Let me get to a good one here, because there were a few that I retweeted. And then there's a few other tweets that I want to read to you guys. Let's start with right here. Now, again, this is just John Gambadoro tweeting this out from Arizona Sports. By the way, you guys, let me know if we're still looking and sounding good. We got 39 people in here. So seriously, crush that like button, share the show, and thank you, Internet, for working so far. I appreciate it, because if you've watched the last two shows, it has not been working that well. So John Gambadoro tweets out, let's go worst case scenario, and the Suns are stuck with Beal. The 2031 first that they gave up is more valuable than the 3 picks they got. No question. But the Suns will need those picks to fill the roster for cheaper players due to their salary. Speaking of that trade, we are going to talk about it. I know there's been a lot of videos that people have made already and a lot of articles written and tweets that explain it, but I want to simplify it specifically for my Suns Geek audience and everybody that's watching. I want to simplify that trade. So that's what John Gambadoro is saying. Again, there's a lot of tweets here. Let me know if you want me to read one that I didn't read. John Gambadoro also kind of said it, and how he put it. He sort of tweeted what I sort of talked about. He said Miami's best bet may to just do nothing. He said they don't have to trade him. Maybe all the suspensions and exposing him will get to him to not pick up the option. If the trade deadline passes, Jimmy will have to play well. It will be in his best interest to repair, for his next deal. So, again, lots of John Gambadoro tweets. Go follow him. Go see what he's tweeting about. He's not wrong on that Miami thing. He's not wrong. They do not have to trade him. And again, you guys, I wish I had all the answers. I wish I could be like, guys, Bradley Beal's going to get traded to here, and here's how the deal's going to look. I have no clue. I really don't. But I know for a fact it will be a 3 to 5 team deal, which is insane because I think this offseason, I remember I made a YouTube short about it. We had the largest trade in NBA history. It was like a 6 or 7 team deal. It's kind of a smaller deal, but it was like a 6. Was it like the Paul George trade? I don't know, but it was this offseason. I made a YouTube short about it. It was the largest NBA trade, at least of this past decade or whatever, or at least in the last 20 something years, if not of all time. So that was pretty cool. But I don't know, you guys. I really don't. Please stick around though, because we got so much more to talk about. There's just a lot of rumors going around. There's a lot of trade ideas floating around. There's a lot of Bradley Beal could end up here. He could end up there. I really don't know, you guys. I really wish that I had all the answers for you, but I don't. So before we continue on with all this Bradley Beal, Jimmy Butler stuff, I want to kind of simplify it for me and maybe for my audience members, the Suns Jazz draft picks trade. And let me just pull up a banner real quick. Sorry, guys. I just got to do something real quick. Give me 1 second here, you guys. Just going to type something in. Suns Jazz draft picks trade. Here we go. My bad, you guys. Sorry for the... There we go. All right, cool. How's this look? That looks like a better banner. All right, guys. So in case you missed it, the best and sort of simplest way to explain this draft picks trade is the Phoenix Suns traded a 2031, you heard that right, in the year 2031, which is 6 years from now, 6 very long years, by the way. They traded a 2031 future first round pick. Now, I believe it's unprotected, all that stuff, which that's sort of, but whatever. And they got 3 future and kind of current least favorable first round picks back from the Utah Jazz. Now some of you guys might have seen that and said, why the heck would the Utah Jazz give up 3 first round picks for a pick way in the future? I'm going to talk about the Utah side later about it, but pretty much in short, and I want to quote Shams Charania here because I think this is sort of the best way to explain it. Quote, the aggressive approach by the Suns unlocks their next 6 drafts and breaks up their lone tradable first round pick 2031 into 3 firsts. For 2025, the Suns are likely to have Cleveland's first round pick. So let's say the NBA draft was tomorrow. The Suns would probably have, most likely 99%, have Cleveland's 30th pick in the first round. So remember, we woke up yesterday morning with only a second round pick in our control, which was Charlotte's due to the Nick Richards trade, and a 2031 first round pick. And then hours later, this trade happens, and we ended up with 3 pretty much uncontrollable sort of first round picks. And I believe we still have that second, pick from Charlotte, the second round pick from Charlotte. It gets a little confusing because there's a lot of trade swaps. There's a lot of like Washington controls our pick, or Houston controls it, or Brooklyn controls it, or this team. There's a lot of pick swap. It gets really confusing. But again, the simplest way to explain it is we now have 3 first round picks in the future. Now, if I'm getting this right, I believe it's in the years 2025, like I just talked about. So this year's draft, 2027, and 2029. And then again, I think we have a second round pick from Charlotte this year. And I think that's it. Unless there's like some pick I'm forgetting about. But pretty much we have more draft capital, more draft assets to trade in a potential Jimmy Butler trade or in a future trade. I don't know. I think that's honestly the best way to sum it up. Now, I would have made a video about it because you guys know me. This was one of the rare times where there was actual Suns news and I didn't make a video about it. I must be off my game. When in reality, it was just a long day yesterday, guys. I'm a human being. I'm not a robot. I was just tired. I was like, I will talk about it tomorrow. So, just like my guy Logan says, I appreciate you being here, Logan. He says, the draft is a game of chance. I'd rather have 3 late picks than 1 higher pick anyways. Absolutely. And then to kind of read off that last part, you would rather have 3 late picks that are more recent, 2025, 27, 29, than in 2031. There's a meme going around, or like a meme or a video that pretty much says, it's like, oh, the Suns just traded away the 7th grade demon kid. He's like balling and all that. It's like, it's just a joke, of course, but we don't know what 2031 is going to look like, you guys. The Suns are not worried about 2031's draft. More on that later, by the way, because I think people are forgetting something that Matt Ishbia and James Jones said. So more on that later. Appreciate the Aussie Suns fans for being here. Go check out their podcast. Look at that graphic of the picture right there. I think John made that picture, I believe. That's hilarious. But check out the Aussie Suns fans podcast. Gavin, Boyd, Nate, the whole crew. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. And thank you for being here. But yeah, so, all right, you guys. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. So let me read you one more quote, and then we'll kind of move on from the Suns draft picks thing, because I just wanted to simplify it. I wanted to give you guys my opinion on it and kind of break it down for you guys, just in case you missed it. And this is a good quote from David Aldridge, who's longtime NBA reporter, insider, et cetera, works for The Athletic now. I've always liked David Aldridge, but this is this is just a good quote, I believe, about it. So he says, and I quote, with 3 firsts from Utah, the Suns can now avoid the Stepien rule. I hope I said that right. Stepien rule, and trade a first in any of the next 6 drafts, but still not in consecutive years. Because remember, there are some picks that are completely out of our control that we cannot trade. By turning 1 unprotected first into 3 picks, Phoenix has a little more flexibility to get more into potential deals and an inventory to put into a Butler trade. That comes from David Aldridge. I think that's a good quote. All right, you guys. By the way, there was a little bit of reporting today from Mark Stein, who, so I don't really have to bore you guys with all of this. He pretty much said sources with knowledge of the Suns' thinking insisted to the Stein line, that's his, writing and his reporting and all that Phoenix made Tuesday's trade with Utah without a specific follow-up move lined up. Now, I read that on Arizona Sports, but that's because it's in Mark Stein's like Substack thing. And then it also is being reported, another crucial data point. A separate source told the Stein line that the Suns, as of Tuesday night, still have not presented any trade scenarios for Bradley Beal to consider and tell them if he would be willing to waive his no trade clause. So that's sort of what we've talked about. Now, I am going to pull up the article from Arizona Sports because they have the actual quote right in their article from the Stein. It's more of like a screen cap kind of quote thing, but this is coming from Mark Stein, is somebody who I do trust in his Substack and his reporting. And again, shout out to Arizona Sports for, pulling this up here. Sorry, guys, my computer's being a little slow, but I pretty much just read you guys the main quote. So let me put my microphone down real quick. Let me just kind of zoom in so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So right here, hopefully you guys can see that. Let's see. Yeah, so right there, I'm gonna highlight over it. Hopefully you guys can see that. But yeah, right there. Sources with knowledge of the Suns' thinking insisted to the Stein line that Phoenix made Tuesday's trade without a specific follow-up move lined up. That is huge. If that is true, that is huge. That is a big deal, you guys. Another crucial data point. A separate source told the Stein line that the Suns, as of Tuesday night, still have not presented any trade scenarios for Bradley Beal to consider and tell them if he would be willing to waive his no trade clause. Also, again, shout out to my guy Logan. Essentially, the Cleveland picks in 2025, 27, 29, unless Minnesota is really good one of those years. Yeah, so it's pretty much we get all of Cleveland's future first, pretty much, I think. I don't know. It gets confusing, but you're right, Logan. Absolutely. Thank you for that comment. So Mark Stein seems to be doing some reporting. And by the way, I'll link this article in the chat and I'll link it after the show, because pretty much what this article is breaking down is some options that the Suns can now do. And I don't want to I want to give credit where credit's due. So I'm going to link this article in the description. But let me just read you guys again this last part here. Let me just put it in the chat real quick. There we go. Again, I'll put it in the link so it's actually clickable afterwards, or just go check out Arizona Sports. But this is just a reminder, I guess you could say, that Mark Stein is saying here. Pretty much the Suns could flip this year's 2025 first round pick and trade for some second round picks, kind of like how they did with Ryan Dunn in a way, and like Oso Ighodaro. So they could take, because remember, I believe we had the 22nd pick last year and we traded for Denver, and we ended up with Ryan Dunn or something like that. And I think we did the same thing with Oso Ighodaro, so pretty much that's what it's saying here. One league executive noted that Phoenix could simply keep the 25 first round pick that's now coming this June because of Utah via Cleveland, and try to use that selection, like they do for Ryan Dunn, trading down in exchange for 3 future second round picks and the chance to add a player that they wanted anyways in that range, Ryan Dunn. Does that make sense? I probably butchered that, but you guys get my point. So yeah, again, go check that out. Also, again, I like to give credit where credit's due. So check out Arizona Sports, John Gambadoro. All the links I'll put in afterwards. I should have done it before. I like to give credit where credit's due. So can I take a breath real quick? Can I take a sip of my Coca-Cola? How are you guys doing? I can't believe we're 34 minutes in and we've had some internet connections issues, but not too many. So thank you. I'm glad the internet's actually working and I can do these live shows. Cheers. Okay. Let's see. See what else we got to talk about. Okay, cool. So like we've been saying, you guys, sort of like how I started this show. There's just so many trade rumors to follow, and it is sort of out of control at this point. It seems like one day Bradley Beal's going to get traded to Miami. Bradley Beal's going to get traded to the Bucks. And then before Chris Haynes's brief report, it was like Chicago was the next team. It's like, dude, I don't know. So again, whenever I actually see that it's official that Jimmy Butler is a Phoenix Sun, I will believe it then. But I just kind of wanted to preach to you guys for a minute. And I normally try to stay away. I mean, I don't want to come off like I'm just sitting here preaching to you guys. I don't want to come off as like a know-it-all, but I just want to talk to you about what I personally believe. And, I want to start off with just reminding you guys again, this will be a 3 to 5 player team trade. It's going to be nuts. It will literally be the definition of like a blockbuster. If and when, Jimmy Butler and Bradley Beal are traded. But I want to just kind of remind you guys of something. Even though we had a really rough month of December And even though I was pretty low on the Suns, I was losing hope. I made that video. I'm losing hope in the Phoenix Suns. Go check it out. It's on my channel. There was so much talk, so much like negativity. And even I was a little negative. There was so much like talk about the Phoenix Suns should blow it up. They should trade Kevin Durant. They should blow it up. They should start over. Well, guess what, you guys? We've actually been playing a little bit better. And that's with Bradley Beal being injured. That's with Yusuf Nurkic being out of the lineup. And, you know, besides that Cleveland game, I think we'd won like 6 out of 8. And we ended this road trip winning, what, 3 out of 4, I think? So we've been winning a lot of games. It may not seem like it. The wins may not be pretty, but a win is a win. So we've been playing pretty good. And we'll check out the standings later, but even though the Suns are, you know, kind of at the bottom, if you will, we go on a little win streak, man, and we're right back up there. So I guess what I'm trying to say, without being too long-winded, is the Phoenix Suns are not going to blow it up yet. They are not going to rebuild. More on that later. There's something I want to react to, and I kind of want to remind you guys of. The Phoenix Suns are not going to rebuild yet. As of January 22nd at 9 o'clock my time, Phoenix, Arizona time. It feels so good to say that I'm on Phoenix time again, because in case you missed it, I just moved back to the Valley a month ago. January 22nd, 9 p.m. The Phoenix Suns are not going to blow it up just yet. And despite what a lot of people are saying out there, they want to win, and they want to win now. You have a super rich owner in Matt Ishbia who has paid billions of dollars and has changed so much with not only the Phoenix Suns, but the Phoenix Mercury, like their new practice court, for example, and has done so many, so much changes to the arena, and has brought in one of the greatest players ever in Kevin Durant to the Phoenix Suns, and is bringing win now players to this team. And as Flex from Jersey recently tweeted out, maybe I'll pull this tweet up later. He tweeted out that there's other stars that Flex knows of that want to come to Phoenix. So to all the fans that are like, let's blow it up, let's start over, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, you guys. And I want to, and speaking of that, Gerald Bourguet was actually the one that sort of, I mean, I knew this, but like, he's the one that kind of reminded a lot of people of this. And and instead of me just telling you guys it, I'm just going to let Matt Ishbia and James Jones tell you guys how they view draft picks. Now, yes, this is a little sketchy because of how they went about this past draft with Ryan Dunn and also Iguodala. But clearly, the Phoenix Suns do not care about the 2031 future draft pick. Clearly, they don't care about the 2029 future draft pick. This is, and again, shout out to Gerald Bourguet from PHNX. This is what Matt Ishbia and James Jones both said 9 months ago in their exit interviews. Let's listen to them. Again, shout out to Gerald Bourguet for this tweet. Here's what they said.
And like I said, if fans like to like look and say, hey, I really like that 2031 draft pick because maybe that 7th grader is going to be really good and we're going to draft him and one day he's going to be a player. Like, you ain't going to like the Phoenix Suns because we're going to say draft picks are to get great players.
I said it before.
We're going to use draft picks to get good players.
We're talking about elite players who want to win, saying, how can we win today? How can we win tomorrow? How can we win the next 12 months? Devin's not thinking about 2031. Kevin's not thinking about 2031.
And like I said, if fans like to like,
I'm going to let it play one more time.
Say, hey, I really like that 2031 draft pick because maybe that 7th grader is going to be really good and we're going to draft him and one day he's going to be a player. Like, you ain't going to like the Phoenix Suns because we're going to say draft picks are to get great players.
I said it before. I'm not thinking about the 7th grader in 2031. We're talking about elite players who want to win, saying, how can we win today? How can we win tomorrow? How can we win the next 12 months? Devin's not thinking about 2031. Kevin's not thinking about 2031.
And like I said, if fans like to
All
like
right.
look in the future and say,
So
hey,
again, shout out to Gerald Bourget for that. Just wanted to remind you guys that our owner and James Jones, they don't care about that 2031 pick. They don't care about these future picks. They might have cared in 2024. Clearly they did. They cared. They wanted Ryan Dunn. They wanted Oso Ighodaro. They specifically targeted those guys and they traded back for them, which was smart. But they don't care about these future picks. And I don't care what these little highlights show. I don't care about a 2031 pick. I don't care about that 7th grader right now and balling it up. I don't care, you know? And shout out to the Aussie Suns fans who says the Suns are 20-8 when KD and Book play together. Doesn't scream blow it up to me. Exactly. And what did I say in some of the past live shows like less than a month ago? I said, you do not blow up this team or even think about it without having conversations with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. You don't do that. Like, that would be foolish. Think about it from their perspective. They play a game, they go to sleep, they wake up the next morning, their phone's blowing up. Oh, hey, Kevin, you're getting traded because the Suns are blowing it up and they're rebuilding, and we did not have these discussions with you. Sorry. Pack your bags, you're leaving. Sorry. No, that would be horrible. You don't do that. You pick up the phone, you bring them into your offices, and you say, hey, we're going to go in a different direction. But as of right now, it doesn't look like the Suns are going to do that. Appreciate Devin, who says, so are we getting Jimmy? First off, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. It really means a lot to me. Very generous of you. If you guys want to leave a super chat, comment anything, leave a super chat. It helps support me. It helps support this channel. Thank you so much. I don't know. I don't know if we're getting Jimmy Butler. Probably, most likely we are. I hope we don't give up, the farm for him. I hope we don't give up everything for Jimmy Butler. We probably will get him. Is it going to happen in the next 24 hours? Probably not. Is it going to happen by the deadline? Probably. But if Chris Haynes' report is true and the Milwaukee Bradley Beal talks are non-existent, that lowers more teams to, like that lowers the chances of it happening. I don't know, man. So people are telling me Flex tweeted. I'm just making sure I'm not missing anything here. Let's see. So Flex says, so it's over, I guess, right? I'm not doing this again. Believe what/who you want. I'm not doing this after every tweet report. Insert comments below at your own risk. Just remember to stand on it, not hide after. I stand by everything I said. I guess we'll see. Flex must be listening to the show because that's pretty much what I said, y'all. I don't know who to believe at this point. I don't know what to believe, but don't be changing your tune once a legit report is right. And we're all thanking Gambo, Gambo's right like 99.9% of the time. Flex from Jersey is right a lot as well. I've had Flex on this channel. He's a personal friend of mine. Flex is right about a lot of stuff. So I don't know, man. I really don't. Okay, guys. Speaking of Matt Ishbia, speaking of people who want to blow it up, I just want to read you guys a couple tweets that I retweeted that I really, really agree with. And these are just random tweets that I saw on the timeline. And this kind of does go with the whole Matt Ishbia stuff, because I've seen people that have blamed Matt Ishbia. They blamed him and said, like, we're the team now. We're losing now because you traded for Kevin Durant and blah, blah, blah. Like, Matt Ishbia has done so much on and off the court, and fans are still complaining and crying about it. We have become, even though it hasn't happened this season and last season was super disappointing, we are still in the playoff title contending teams because of Matt Ishbia, and fans are crying about it. So this tweet right here, I really liked. I retweeted it. Suns fans wanting to blow up the roster when there are stars literally forcing their way here is some of the most loser ass shit I've ever seen. We were a lottery team for 10 years, dog. How quickly we forget and seemingly want to go back to that. Sure, you guys, all you Twitter GMs out there, all you GMs that think you know everything, sure, go ahead and rebuild. Then go back to winning 20 games a year with some of the worst basketball you've ever seen. Have fun with that. Do it. You guys think you know everything? You guys think that you're the GM of the Suns? It's not as easy as it looks, y'all. And I really like this tweet here. This is more Matt Ishbia stuff. And yeah, I know I'm coming off as like a Matt Ishbia stan. I don't care. Matt Ishbia has done so much for the Phoenix Suns, you guys, and the Phoenix Mercury. He deserves so much credit. And yes, as Saul says, Hulk smash that like button, y'all. Please, it really helps support the channel. Even if you hate my face, please crush that like button, you guys. Eddie Gonzalez says, and by the way, Eddie Gonzalez is like one of Kevin Durant's boys. I think they had a podcast a long time ago, and they probably still do, but you know, he's close with Kevin Durant. So Eddie says this. So somebody tweeted responding to him saying he's running that shit into the ground. He's talking about the Phoenix Suns. Eddie says he's investing hundreds of millions into the health and lifestyle amenities of his players and quadrupled down on maximizing their windows for winning. And I also saw him respond to somebody's tweet with like our record, I think prior to Chris Paul, like our last 4 years prior to Chris Paul or whatever. And he said something like, you want to go back to this pretty much? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, dude, if y'all want to go back to that losing, and I don't know, you guys. What do I know, right? And just a couple more things on the Matt Ishbia stuff, and then we'll move on. Because you guys know I'm a big supporter and a believer in Matt Ishbia. And actually, this one's more of a Butler thing. I guess I just accidentally added it into my notes. But one of my favorite follows on Twitter, at Inside the Suns, says, Butler is a better fit on the Suns than Beal. One thing we've learned from this front office, that if it makes them a better basketball team and gets them closer to a championship, they're going to do it. Assets be damned. Amen to that. Has that not been a big conversation throughout this whole podcast? And I promise this is the final Matt Ishbia thing that we're going to move on here, because I know a lot of you guys really like and respect Espo, who I do as well. I love Espo. He's great. Shout out to you, Espo, if you're watching. And he said this, give me an owner who is willing to spend and try to get it right any day over an owner who wants to tank and hope it works with the basketball gods. Is he talking about Sam Hinkie? Remember the trust the process? Is he talking about, you know, who shall not be named on this channel? You know who I'm talking about? Anyways. Oh yeah, and I hate to sound like, how do I say this? I hate to sound like it always could be worse, but this is one of those examples of it always could be worse. For all of you fans who are like, oh, the Phoenix Suns are trash and everything this team does is terrible, blah, blah, blah. And for all the fans who tweet stuff out that are super negative and toxic, it's like the Phoenix Suns can't win in your eyes no matter what they do. First off, go root for another team, because we don't need that negativity in an already very toxic Suns Twitter and Suns community. We don't need that. So go root for another team if you think everything the Suns do is terrible and they're the worst team in the league. But two, I hate to sound like, you know, it could be worse, but this is a real thing. If you think the Phoenix Suns are bad, which they've been playing great as of late, go check out what the Philadelphia 76ers are doing. They've lost 7 in a row. My guy, Philly Take with RB, literally uploaded a video a few hours ago pretty much saying blow it all up. I think the title of the video was like, it's time to sell off this team or something like that. It's in my watch list. I'm going to go watch it later. But if you guys think we're bad, the Sixers are a train wreck right now. I think the Warriors are struggling. The Lakers are struggling. Like, there's so many teams that are built kind of like us, maybe besides being super expensive, that are struggling worse than we are right now. So just remember, especially all the Twitter GMs out there, that building a basketball team is extremely difficult, and playing in the NBA is extremely difficult, and winning is difficult. That's why I've always kind of been a defender of the bubble championship. I know it's the Lakers. I'm sorry, y'all. Please don't kill me for saying that. But a championship's a championship, even if there is a little asterisk or whatever there. A championship is a championship. And you want to know who will tell you that? Is Kevin Durant. Heck, even Devin Booker, who hasn't won a championship, will tell you winning is hard. Winning championships is hard. Jordan says, the Wizards have always been struggling. I agree with that, because even when they had Bradley Beal and John Wall, I don't think they even made it past the first round. But I'm a little bit of an optimist with the Wizards. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're going to be awful. They're going to be terrible, probably for the rest of this decade. But it's just because they literally tore everything down brick by brick. They got a new owner. They got a new GM. They got a new coach, blah, 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 blah. I think literally their GM, Will Dawkins, said, and I quote, "We are not done tearing this down." And that's saying something, because they're playing 19, 20, 21-year-olds over their veterans. And I think I just saw a thing today from like a legitimate source that said Kyle Kuzma might get traded by the end of the week. So clearly they are blowing it up, tearing it down brick by brick. Okay. Logan says $2 hot dogs, best owner ever. By the way, you guys, I went to my first Phoenix Suns game in like 5 years since I just moved back to the Valley, which I'm super thankful for, by the way. Shout out to Mr. AZ Sports for the tickets. I saw that deal. I had to literally go up to the concession stands and just see it with my own eyes. It was awesome. Couldn't believe it. And guys, I was telling a couple friends of mine that, because I hadn't been to the arena in 5 years, I was like a kid in a candy store. I was just looking around at everything. Like I tried to film as much as I could, and I took a bunch of pictures, but like I had to just walk around. Like I think it was like the start of the third quarter, and I just kept walking because I just wanted to check out the whole arena. I even went upstairs and just looked around, you know. The arena is incredible. If you ever get a chance to go to a Suns game, go. And like, yes, I want you to be in your seat and watching the game and supporting the Suns. But if you can, seriously, just go walk around the arena. Because one, you'll get good exercise. But two, you'll just see everything that's there. There's so many restaurants, so many team shops, so many things to look at. You'll learn a little bit about Suns history and Phoenix Mercury history as well. There's so much good stuff in there, you guys. All right, y'all. Let's kind of move on here. If you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, please get them in now. Get them in right now. And I'll try to get to all of them. I apologize if I don't. And again, you guys, crush that like button, share the show. It helps push out my content. It tells people that I'm doing a good job around here. It helps like the algorithm, if you will. So please, you guys, like, share the show. So remember earlier when I was talking about what Utah gets out of this trade? Because I'm sure there was a lot of people that said, like, why the heck would Utah do that? What are they thinking? Well, we're going to move on to some other NBA stuff, but this sort of relates to the Suns. Sorry, guys, I had to take a sip of my Coke. Let me take a sip of water first. And I think the best way to simplify this is actually a graphic here. from Bobby Marks, who I think does great work for ESPN, and another guy that also tweets things out and gives us a lot of information. So why would Utah do this? Well, one, because they're rebuilding and they're still a few years away. Bobby Marks pretty much gathered up all of their draft picks for the next 7 years. And don't be surprised, by the way, if they trade like Jordan Clarkson, and I don't know if Walker Kessler would get traded, but don't be surprised if they trade some of their veterans, because they have a lot of young talent that they're still growing and developing. But here's all their next picks for the next 7 years. They have 2 in this year's draft in 2025, which is, at least on paper, a loaded draft class. They have 1 in 2026, 3 in 2027. The list goes on and on. You can see the graphic. They have so many draft picks over the next 7 years. And as Bobby Marks' tweet says, the Jazz are gathering up their assets from Rudy Gobert and the Donovan Mitchell trades, including the 2031 unprotected first from Phoenix. They now have 11 picks in the next 7 years, on top of the young talent that they already have. That's why Utah did it. That's why they made this trade. That's pretty much the best way to sum it up. Okay, let's see. Shay, I hope I said your name right. I apologize if I didn't. How long have you been a Suns fan? Great question. First off, I've been a basketball fan for pretty much my whole life, and I've been a Suns fan for as long as I can remember. I sort of pride myself on saying that I have studied the history of the league and studied the history of the Suns. I'm talking like the Bill Russells, the Wilt Chamberlains, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying I know everything, but I know a lot about NBA history, a lot about Suns history, and I just love basketball. So I would say for my whole life, I've just been a Suns fan and an NBA fan my whole life. Okay, let's see. SB Record says, will the trade happen tonight with Jimmy? Probably not. But remember, Kevin Durant was traded at midnight. I think the night or the night of the trade deadline. I don't know. Okay, let's see. Ashton, I hope I said your name right. Says, would be dope if you can get Flex back on here. I know he's enjoying retirement. Yeah, funny you say that. I was actually thinking about that. I was texting him the other day, and I was like, dude, I need to get him on the show, man, because if there's anybody that knows what he's talking about, it's definitely Flex from Jersey. So I'm going to have to reach out to him and see if he can get on the show again. Saul says, Geek, do you still want Butler, or would you have other players? Collins from Utah comes to mind. Suns need a power forward. Move KD to the 3. That's a great question, man. First off, John Collins has been playing a lot better basketball, especially this season. At least last time I checked anyways. It's not impossible. I've had people DM me and say, can we get Cam Johnson? Can we get this player? I'm like, dude, it's not impossible. But a lot of these players who Suns fans want are usually too expensive, or the trade just doesn't make sense for both sides. So if for some reason we don't get Jimmy Butler, I don't think we do anything drastic at the deadline. We might, but I could see us kind of retuning, reworking some things in the offseason and addressing the center need, despite Nick Richards, and getting more assets and more better players and more win now players in the offseason. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's just what I think. Yeah, Jordan, I agree, man. He says, Shay, you need to go to a game. It's life-changing. Seriously, go to a game. Even if you don't live in Arizona, go to some kind of basketball game. It's amazing. I agree with that. Okay, cool. Let's see. Suns fan since 88, 89. Shout out your year. Yeah, I mean, I was born in 89, so we'll just say 89. SB Records says, how much do you miss Tyler Ulis? I'm not going to lie, you guys. I loved Tyler Ulis, man. By the way, if you want to know how long I've been a Suns fan for, I've had this channel for like almost 10 years, you guys. I remember making videos about Tyler Ulis. That guy fell off the face of the earth, man. I think he's like an assistant coach for Kentucky now. But yeah, I miss that guy, man. It sucks it didn't work out with him. He was Aussie Suns fan says, you need some Australians on the show. They know their shit. I agree with that. By the way, Boyd, if you're watching, you, me, and John make a good trio, man. Even though my internet wasn't working that day, we had a great show, dude. That was good, man. Okay. Let's just make sure I didn't miss any questions, comments here. We're gonna get to a couple more topics, and then I got to get out of here, y'all. So we're just gonna make this short. Let's see. You know what? Let's just end the show here since we kind of talked about this before. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, get them in right now because I'm probably only going to go live for a few more minutes. There's been a lot of legitimate reporting around Cam Johnson. It kind of started with the Thunder. There was a lot of reports that said like the Sun, not the Suns, that the Thunder were genuinely and really interested in Cam Johnson. And I'm sure they still are. And then it kind of shifted to Cleveland. And then we heard some stuff about Sacramento. But even EJ Eddie Johnson said it tonight that this potentially could have been Cam Johnson's like last game or last day in Brooklyn. So don't be surprised if Cam Johnson gets traded because one, he's a valuable asset on a rebuilding team. And even though he kind of fits Brooklyn's timeline, they would probably be smartest by giving up Cam to get more assets and like draft picks. So first off, if OKC Thunder or Cleveland gets Cam Johnson, it's pretty much a wrap. I'm not joking. Now, I don't know what that deal is going to look like. You are going to have to give up something to get him, but we all know, if you've been following the Suns, we all know Cam Johnson is a fantastic player, a sharpshooter. I loved Cam Johnson when he was on this team. Brings you good vibes, very mature, very smart guy. If the Thunder or Cleveland get him, it's a wrap. It's over. The latest report was Sacramento, but I don't know how legitimate those reports were. In Sacramento, you know, they've had sort of a roller coaster of a season, even though they are playing better now since they fired Mike Brown. But I don't know. I'm just checking Twitter one more time to make sure I'm not missing anything. Let's see what the Miami Heat said. The Miami Heat's statement on Jimmy Butler. We have suspended Jimmy for 2 games for continued pattern of disregard of team rules, conduct, detrimental to the team, blah, 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 including missing today's team flight to Milwaukee. Although I think I saw one tweet about that where it was like the Heat like changed their flight or something. I don't know. Okay. Don't think I missed anything from Twitter. Okay, cool. So let's see. Let's read some comments. I love what the Aussies say here. You fucking preach, geek. You want to preach? Preach, geek. Amen to that. This is my channel. I can talk about whatever I want on here. So I am going to preach to you guys more. Troy says, I'm a Heat fan. Do you guys really know what you're getting into with Jimmy? Dude only wants money. I guarantee you Suns fans will regret having him on the team when he starts missing games. I mean, guys, Troy's not really wrong here. Because what were some of the reports like a month ago? That our owner, Matt Ishbia, is the only owner who will pretty much give Jimmy an extension. I mean, Troy's not wrong here, you guys. And I hate to say it, I'm not trying to sound negative, but as great as Jimmy Butler is, I don't think he solves all of our problems, y'all. Just saying. Appreciate your comment, Troy. Ooh, Francis, I'm glad you asked about this. How likely is the Denny Advia? I can't say his last name. Advia? Okay, let's just simplify it. How likely is the Denny deal? Now, I don't know if this person has sources, but D Coldest on Twitter was the one that tweeted about this. And I don't think Gambo was like trying to like be rude or anything, but I think Gambo shut that down. There was like a rumor that came out and it was that the Suns were interested in Denny, and he's a great wing player, and I believe he's had a pretty good season for Portland. I believe I know for a fact that somebody who I follow who covers the Wizards was shocked when they traded him to Portland. Even I kind of was. Denny's still young, man. He's like 24, good wing player. I don't see it. I think it's unlikely, but again, it's not impossible. I don't see that happening though. I don't know. Logan says, I'll see y'all and Jimmy Butler in the morning. Go Suns. Appreciate you, Logan. Thank you, man. Jimmy is a grinder, says Aussie Suns fans. I wanted to read a comment real quick that was nice. Where was it? Here we go. Saul says, it answers it. Thanks, Geek. Been watching you for like 6 years now. I appreciate you, man. I've seen you in all the chats and in the comments. I appreciate you, man. That means more than you realize. Okay. So, yeah, Toasty, great question, man. I wish I could answer this. If a Butler deal doesn't happen, does Phoenix have a plan B trade? Trade Nurkic's with a first round pick? Probably. But like, I don't, that's where I was kind of saying the Suns would kind of have to sort of retool and kind of change a lot on the fly this offseason if there is no plan B. But I'm sure they're thinking about it. That's probably why this Jimmy stuff is taking so long. So great question from Toasty73. Toasty. All right, y'all. I think that's it. Just make sure I didn't miss anything. Just checking my notes. I think that's it. Thank goodness that the internet actually worked for this show. Thank goodness. A couple life updates for me personally, y'all. Just moved back to the Valley about a month ago. Super thankful and happy and blessed that I am back. My family is blessed and thankful that we are back. Every day that I'm here, it feels more real. At first I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm back here. And like, I'm going to this restaurant that they didn't have in Memphis when I lived there. And I'm going to this place. It was nuts, y'all. It was like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like surreal, if you will. Like it was just, after living in Memphis for 4 years, it was just coming back to the Valley, going back to like my stomping grounds and driving through streets that I used to drive through and going to restaurants and seeing family and friends more consistently. It has just been great. Aussie Suns fan says, nice work as always, Geek. Love your work. Go Suns. I appreciate y'all. Go check out the Aussie Suns fans podcast. I hope I can get you guys on the show very soon because I love you guys. And on that note, we will just end with Jimmy is misunderstood. Guy is a winner. He just wants to win. I do agree with that. But yeah. Like I said, I think we will most likely get Jimmy Butler. I hope we don't give up everything to get him. And if we do sign him, like to that extension or whatever, I hope we don't sign him for too much, even though Matt Ishbia doesn't care and he has all the money in the world. So, all right, y'all. I think that's it. We've gone over an hour. I love you guys. Seriously, you guys are all amazing. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for caring for what I have to say. Thank you guys for tuning in and asking questions. And you guys are just awesome. Like even just comments like Saul's here from earlier. He's been watching me for 6 years. Like that means more to me than you guys will ever realize. You guys are just all awesome. Like seriously, thank you guys. And I will do my best to keep you updated on all the Phoenix Suns news, rumors, reports. Don't get me wrong, you guys. I do have a life outside of the Suns Geek channel. Sometimes I get busy. Sometimes I get tired. Sometimes I'm just like, dude, I don't want to make a video today, especially with all this Bradley Beal, Jimmy Butler stuff. It's just too much, man. I give credit to the people that make a video on every single report and rumor. I'm like, I can't do that, dude. It's too much. So yeah, I don't know. But seriously, I love you guys. God bless you guys. Stay safe out there. Be kind to people, love people. And the Phoenix Suns have been playing better. So please keep hoping and believing in the Phoenix Suns, you guys. Just you guys are awesome. And thank you to everybody that tuned in, like Mandy Moore fan 21, first time viewer, new Suns fan. Love the show. I appreciate you. Shay says, peace out, go Suns. Saul says, later, geek, good night. I love you guys. You're awesome. Stay safe out there. God bless you guys. Peace out. Win or lose, Phoenix Suns for life. And I mean that. Win or lose, Phoenix Suns for life. Peace out. God bless. And go Suns.